Hello, everybody! Today, I will tell you about the anime hard work in the dungeon. What will happen if a businessman gets into another world without a drop of power? Now we will find out for everyone a pleasant viewing, and let's go. Thanks to the fact that Candy invested his earnings in a reasonable investment, he managed to achieve an ideal life, never working again. But in the midst of celebrating his carefree future, he is transported to another world. This world is inhabited by all kinds of humans. At that time, it was common for people to dig in dungeons in search of treasures and fight monsters for power and glory. Everything changed as soon as the modernization began. Now everyone uses the demonite found in the dungeons as an energy source, and companies are opening up to mine these precious materials. Kinji is currently working for one of these mining companies. This company does not care about its employees at all, forcing them to work constantly just to increase profits. He is extremely disappointed by the fact that his ideal life has abruptly ended. Now he has to work every day and there is no end in sight. To his good fortune, he discovered something interesting. He hires a work colleague from his team, Vaneb, who is often insulted by others who would be afraid to get involved with Kinji since he is notorious for having huge debts. Kinji explains to Vaneba how he got into debt. Trying to convince him to join forces, Vaneba agrees with Kinji, and the two of them declare that they will make reconnaissance tours. This means that they will go deeper into the dangerous levels of the dungeon to find a higher quality demonite. After they set off, Kinji informs Vaneba that what he has found is a secret entrance to the lower level of the dungeon. After making sure they are safe, Kinji leads Vaneba instead of rich demonite. After collecting a large amount of demonite at the exit, they are intercepted by a large dragon. Realizing that the dragon will most likely kill them, but Kinji uses his wit, offering to feed the dragon delicious food every day if he protects them from other monsters. In response, having attached himself to Rome, the dragon accepts Cilantro's offer and turns into a little girl so that it would be easier for her to follow them. Thus, the profits of the mining team in which Kinji works should increase rapidly. Unfortunately, all the income he receives goes to food for Rome because she is constantly hungry and ready to eat almost everything. During one of the search tours, Kinji stumbles upon some magical items that were left behind by adventurers who met their unfortunate end in the dungeon. One of the objects turns out to be a wand that allows him to control the minds of others in a dream, forcing them to serve him. While they are sleeping, he seizes control of his team's mind, forcing them to work every night while they sleep to dig up more demonite. In the morning, they do not remember any of this and only wonder why they are so tired. Sky warns Kinji that he is breaking quite a few laws by doing this and that he should stop while he can still make amends, but Kinji does not heed his warning. One night, while Kinji is enjoying the lucrative results of his scheme, the magic wand reaches its limit and stops working. Suddenly, regaining consciousness, the team realized what was happening and attacked him. Because of the actions of Kinji and Vaneb, they are transferred to another team. The team in question is responsible for cleaning up after the research group, replenishing supplies for them, and also performs all sorts of errands in the dungeon. While doing his new job, Vaneba finds himself caught by a mimic chest. To save him, Kinji throws all the supplies he was carrying into Mimic's mouth. Vaneba gets injured, and Kinji is to blame for the loss of all supplies. He is forced to work 2 shifts to compensate for the absence of his teammate. Kinji feels desperate. He is forced to resort to stealing garbage from the restaurant to feed Rima. While working his shift, Kinji is determined to find a way to rise and not let the company destroy him. At this moment, a member of the research team runs past him, pursued by an army of monster ants. The two of them get into the warehouse with supplies. Kinji contacts his boss, who is on top, but he refuses to send them any help. When an army of ants breaks into a supply warehouse, digs into the supplies available to them, and a brilliant idea comes to his head. He mixes the transformation potion with the parts of the monster ants that a member of the research team managed to cut off. They successfully turn into monster ants, thanks to which the army of enemies leaves them alone. Unfortunately, they see that they can't get out of the dungeon, as the upper levels were sealed as soon as their superiors realized what was going on. Noticing that many ants are monsters, exhausted, and wounded, Indy finds a way out of the predicament. Thanks to the transformation potion, he is able to understand ants and speak the same language. Using his charisma, Kinji convinces the worker ants to unite with him. We promise better relations and help against the tyranny of the Ant Queen. His plan works perfectly, and many ants want a better life than the one that is not forced to lead at the moment. They are so fascinated by him that even after the effect of the potion ends and he turns back into a human, they still follow him. The queen ants are unhappy about this, seeking to capitalize on the fact that the voracious dragon from the upper floors has disappeared. Suddenly, she is attacked by a horde of ants who protest against her. She doesn't understand what is going on, but at that moment, Kinji comes out and explains the situation, telling her that he has come to replace her as she doesn't have the necessary talent to control the ant. The queen of the ants is enraged. Showing her strength, she switches to combat mode. The queen tells him that the only thing needed to rule is strength. At the moment when she is about to strike, Rimu appears. She is hungry and upset because Kinji has not fed her for a long time, so she starts chasing ants that are nearby. The ant queen immediately recognizes the dragon even though she is in her human form. Candy manages to distract Rhino Ants by giving her some meat that he stole from the warehouse. Thanks to this, the queen of ants and ants consider him a hero of their kind. A few days later, Vaniba returns to work, apologizing to Kinji for having to work harder while he was recovering. Cilantro rejects his apology, telling him not to worry about it. Instead, he asks Vanib to join him in his plan to overthrow the companies that ruled him, as they tried to hide the fact that they were thrown to the ants. Asking him to join, he tells him that he has created his own group in a dungeon with monster ants and Remo Dedangen and a black company. Unfortunately, another setback occurs when Cilantro and Vaniba are sent to a training camp where they are subjected to disciplinary methods. The whole purpose of the training camp is to turn them into brainless grumblers who will be happy to do their best for the success of the company. Slowly but surely, everything begins to change and accept their fate, as it turns out that they are constantly exposed to black magic, which gradually brainwashes them. Finally, once they are all considered converted, they are sent back to the dungeon. On the way back, Kinji and Vaniba come out of the state. It turns out that, following Cilantro's plan, they both swallowed some herbs that prevented them from being completely subjugated. They also put these herbs in the magician's food, causing them to go crazy and blow up the entire camp. After they left, after returning to the company, they met everyone who was appointed responsible for them. It's hard for her to control her strength as she knocks down Vaniba during dating. When she hears that Kinji is not loyal to the company, she does not take him to the dungeon to find out how strong he is so that she can begin to correct his behavior. A large monster appears and Kinji retreats. Being unable to fight him still easily defeats the monster. As soon as she sees that Cilantro is protecting the sin that came to him, she is convinced that he is actually also a monster who has no chance against her. Kinji calls Rima. Everyone strikes Rome, but does no damage to her. Rome decides to take herself seriously, turning into a more mature and powerful form. In this form, she easily overcomes everything. Vaniba catches up with them and discovers that Kinji is already planning her next move with Rimu and the Ant Queen, while the Bouncier is tossing and turning behind them, shouting that they are violating company policy. To silence her, they take a photo of her hanging out with the monsters of the dungeon, using this photo as blackmail material that will destroy her reputation. If someone sees her, the Cilantro welcome her into their company, since now she is forced to work for them. One evening, a group of people puts pressure on Kinji to return the gold he borrowed along with the interest, given the last term before they take his life. Instead, inside the dungeon, Sia tries to teach Kinji and Vanib to fight monsters, but Kinji is too depressed because of his impending doom. While they are collecting monster loot, an idea comes to his mind. Kinji's idea is to create a monster farm inside a dungeon where they will tame monsters and collect loot from them without having to fight them as they heal any lost parts. Over time, this idea becomes so profitable that it helps him pay off all his debt. Everyone feels uncomfortable about how they make money because that's not the way we taught her. While she is protesting, a strong earthquake occurs, destroying parts of the floor, which causes her to fall. Kinji tries to save her from falling, but ends up falling. Following her, the owner of the company Vera Zay Shubak explains that during the Death March, Magan will attack people with a strong magical aura in order to devour them. She reveals that she sent her to the dungeon in the first place so that she would serve as food for Magina. Kinji and C find themselves deep in the dungeon, where Sia thanks him for his efforts, even though he could not save her from falling. Mogan appears, attacking with his strength, but she still does not hurt him with her strong attack. She has an item that allows one person to teleport out of the dungeon in case of an emergency, but since there are two of them, Syl wants to use the item on Silentro, deciding to stay and do her duty. Kinji refuses to do so, snatching the object from her hand and throws it at Makino, which leads him to teleport out of the dungeon. A smart move, you agree. See, I can't believe what Kinji has done, but Kinji doesn't worry about it at all, stating that Magen has only focused on her anyway, so the monster will eventually come back to her. This means that they have some time to prepare. Cilantro uses tamed monsters to quickly prepare traps for the Magen. Worried that Rome is nowhere to be found, Kinji's plan seems to be working, as they use everything to drive Magion from one trap to another, damaging and weakening him. Eventually, Magen goes into berserk mode and Seiya prepares to risk her life again to stop him. That was the first part. If we gain more activity under this video, I will release the second part of this anime. Don't forget to subscribe and thank you for watching.